Hey there, my name is Parker Wright. I'm a video editor and mix engineer, and I'm going to show you how to use my Cappella Video Square Motion Graphics Template, or MOGRT, in Adobe Premiere Pro. Let's go. Alright, so there are a couple prerequisites before you use Premiere Pro. First off, you need to know how to use Premiere Pro. If you're a complete beginner, I highly recommend checking out my good friend Valentina V's tutorial video on how to use Premiere Pro right here. Next, we will need to install a motion graphics template, or MOGRT, and I have a tutorial video of how to do that in here, but we will be going over the basics of that in this video. So let's get into it. First, we want to go into Premiere Pro, open up a new project, title it accordingly. Next, go to the Essential Graphics panel. If you don't see the Essential Graphics panel, you can click Effects up here. It will rearrange your Premiere to this setting, and you will see it here. You could also go up to Window and then Essential Graphics. So go into Essential Graphics. In the bottom right, there is this button called Install Motion Graphics Template. Select your MOGRT, hit open, and it will install it to Premiere Pro forever. Next, we are going to go over these three Video Square templates. First one's going to take a little bit more just to kind of explain the basics of how to use it, and then the other ones I'm just going to show them off to you. It's pretty exciting. This uses the new media replacement tool in Premiere Pro, so you're able to essentially drag your synced footage into these, and it will already automatically be lined up perfectly. You're not having to manually do anything. I'm pretty excited about these. So first off, we're just going to use the standard Video Squares template. There are two other ones. There's a large one that has 200 up to 200 people. This one uses up to 25, and then I have a vertical one that works great for things like TikTok or Instagram. That one has up to 16 people. So first, to use this, if we try to drag it straight into the session, it won't work. We need to create a new sequence. You can do that by going to File, New, Sequence, or Control or Command N, I should say. We can title this. We're gonna just call this MOGRT Test. So we have our sequence. You don't need to worry about any of your frame rate or the sizing of your sequence. Nothing of that you need to worry about, because when you drag in your MOGRT, it's gonna automatically change it for you. It only works though if it is the first thing that you're dragging in. So just don't drag in any footage before your MOGRT, because then it'll try to default to that. So bring in your MOGRT. It's gonna come up with this. If it doesn't come up with this, then that means that the sequence that you already set up matches what the MOGRT is. So don't worry about it if you don't see this. It will say this clip does not match the sequence's settings. Change sequence to match the clip settings. Yes, we do want to change the sequence settings. Click that. And now we have our MOGRT. Yay, some gray boxes. To operate this MOGRT, you just want to click on it, and the Essential Graphics panel will automatically switch to Edit. If it doesn't, you can just go to it manually. And this is what it should look like when you open it up. We have the written directions of how to use it. That's basically what this video is. But if you need a reminder, that can be helpful. You have your media replacement panel, which is where you will add your videos that you want to use. And then we have a couple different ways that we can vary this tool. So we have our guides, we can turn those on and off. There's not really any reason to get rid of them, but you might have it where you have some that are missing, so you want to get rid of them. Next, we can change our line thickness. So we can make them completely disappear if you want. It looks like they're still there, but that's just because the gray boxes have an outline, just so that you can see what they look like. But when you put in your videos, there won't be any outline there. There's a lot going on in the background here. You can tell, if I were to just put lines, then the different boxes would be all different sizes, because as you get closer to the middle, they would get smaller, and on the outside they would be larger. But these lines are all exactly the same size. So next we can change how many rows and how many columns we have. So you can vary all of the different positions that you want your videos to be in. And it is constantly keeping the lowest numbers on the screen. So you're not having to move around to different numbers very much. You could essentially keep the same position and just switch them out. This does go, you can go up to 60 but obviously you can see it cuts them off. The reason we did that is I made it so that there's 10 columns and 6 rows, because you can do 10 by 2. Obviously this is pushing it, but you could have these 20 people on screen. Or you can bring it down and maybe do like 6 by 4 and get 24 people on screen. I just chose 6 and 10 because it seemed like that was kind of the max that you would want out of for the 25 people of the different sizes. So that is why it's set up like that. Next, we can go down to this awesome section called Line Background Customization. Here we can do a couple things. First off, we can change our line color. So if you wanted this to be a blue, you could, or you could make it maybe like a dark blue. You can change your line color to be whatever you want, and you can also change the opacity. And opacity is just how, basically the opposite of transparency. So do we want it to be fully visible or like half visible? Now the opacity of this line is actually laying on top of what we have here, which is our background replacement. Now the background replacement is pretty sweet. We can either replace it with a video, a photo, or we can replace it with a sequence, which is what we're gonna be doing a lot of, is replacing these with sequences that we create. So we're gonna go to our footage, B-roll, and we're gonna drag in our beach video onto this background replacement section. You'll see it shows there. Click it on, and we can't see it yet because we also are able to change the opacity of the background. So if you wanted to, you could have the line at 0 and then like bring down the opacity of the background if you want it to not show up as much. So we're just gonna bring this to 100 so we can see everything, and we'll bring down the rows and columns and bring up the thickness. So we could have videos on top of a nice beach video. Now with that, we could also have kind of an overlay. So let's say we wanted to warm this up a bit. We could choose orange and like bring up the opacity just a bit to warm up that footage. Ooh, how nice. Give it a nice fun little overlay. You can tell though, this footage only lasts a very short period of time. So what we can do, and it starts from the beginning. So basically you would want to create a nested sequence of where you want that beach video placed and then put that sequence into here. So let's say you wanted the beach video to be going over this section. We could make a nested sequence that matches up with this. So if we wanted this video to be a bit longer though, we could bring out this beach video and copy this to make it longer. Right now I'm just holding Alt or Option and making our selection and click and dragging, and it's making that copy. I can then take this and go ahead, right click and click Nest. We're gonna call this long beach video. And we created the sequence right here. We'll go ahead and drag it into our B-roll, delete this out of our sequence, and then we're going to use this sequence for the replacement background. So now we have this longer length. It's repeating the same video, but we're able to make it longer. All right, so that's all of the basic adjustments that you can make with this. But now how do we add our footage to this MOGRT? So what we need to do is we do need to synchronize our footage so that everything lines up before we add those synced sequences to this MOGRT. If you're confused, don't worry, we're gonna go through it step by step. So first off, we need to bring in our footage. Right here, I have my singers footage. Now these singers are from a kids a cappella group called Squad Harmonics that I help teach beatboxing to, and I edit all of their videos, so I highly recommend checking them out. They're pretty amazing. You can check them out at squadharmonics.com. If you know any kids that want to join, let us know. We have online options. So we're gonna drag these in one by one. I'm not gonna go too in depth on how to synchronize footage. There's a couple different methods that I like to use. First off, I love using Pluralize. Pluralize by Red Giant is an amazing tool. It does a great job of synchronizing footage to your music. Next, you can use the automated synchronize within Premiere, but I find that with live performances, it tends to not do an amazing job. Or you can hand synchronize your footage. When you hand synchronize your footage, you bring in your music, find a section in the music that you want to synchronize to, whether it's the very beginning or maybe just a good spot in the music. Make a marker, and then you can double click on your footage, press play, make it so that it lands where that marker is. Make the start of that footage go to it, and then you can synchronize it. Again, I don't want to go too in depth on how to synchronize, but you're going to synchronize all of your footage so that it lines up with the music. Once that is all done, you want to resize your footage so that it matches. So I recommend just selecting all of your footage, right click, and go to scale to frame size. So you want to resize all of your footage. You can do that by going to effects controls, and then you have your scale, and then your horizontal and vertical positions in there. So we're just gonna resize all of these so that they're kind of in the middle. I'm gonna speed this up, but you guys can watch along. All right, so our footage is synced and our footage has been resized to fit the screen. Now we need to make what is called nested sequences. We already showed you how to do that with your beach footage, but now we're gonna make nested sequences of all of our singers. So we're gonna click individual one by one and then select our sound in the background just to make sure that that nested sequence is the full length. And we're going to right click, go to nest, and then title it. I recommend titling it after your singer's name. If you know their vocal part, then you can put their vocal part. I usually put it in short form, like soprano as S, alto as A, etc. And then their vocal part, and then if you wanted to, you could put the song name. I recommend just something like this, soprano, and then Elise. And we're gonna go through and do each of those one by one. All right, so all of our sequences are nested. You want to make sure that these are going to the beginning of the sequence. Otherwise it won't line up properly when you go to drag it into the MOGRT. So that's why it's good to add the sound into your sequence so it makes sure it's the full entire length of the sequence. So we're gonna delete these. We don't need these sound files anymore. And what we're gonna do next is delete these out of our sequence. We don't need them because we have created sequences off to the side. So we'll drag our nested sequences into our synced sequence folder. And now we can select our MOGRT, bring down this drop down of media replacement, and go ahead and just select all of your sequences and drag them in. Boom. They are there, they are synchronized, and they are ready to go. You can now make your adjustments within your MOGRT. So we can do this, bring it down, maybe make this opacity go up. You can get really creative with this. Obviously, we only have the 5 people there, so we can get rid of this guide and leave a space if we wanted to do something like that, or we can just bring it down. Obviously, if you're working with more people, you have a lot more flexibility of all the different setups you can do. So now we have all of this whole song set up. We can clip the end of it because it's not going to be that whole time. And now what I recommend doing is hiding this, pressing play, and making different markers throughout your song. So when you press play and make markers, you can be selecting where you want these visual changes to happen. Now that you've made those markers, we can go back to them and cut where those markers lie. Now, once you have all of that set up, you can then change your setups. So we can select this MOGRT, and then maybe we want to make this so that it's just 2 people on screen. Now, if we want to change the people that are on screen, we can just go to our media replacement. So we can very quickly and very easily swap out people. There we go. For different sections of the video. There's the first one. There's the second one. And then we can change the third one to something else. Maybe do like all 5 on screen horizontally. Obviously the original footage for that one didn't go out there because I didn't synchronize it properly, but you can kind of see if you wanted to change the framing of somebody, you can go into their synced sequence and you can reframe them. So I can move this to the side, go back to our original, and now she's moved off to the side. You're able to very easily manipulate different sections of the song, and yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. So next we have a different motion graphics template. I'm gonna go ahead and delete everything out of here just to show you guys, clean this up a bit. So we're gonna go back to our MOGRT, and we're gonna check out this vertical video squares template. This is basically the same thing. When we drag it in, we want to change the sequence setting so that it matches this vertical template. It's very similar. There's a couple different things. You don't have as many ability to like change the background and whatnot, but we are still able to change the line color, and we can still change the line thickness. But now, because of the way vertical videos work with horizontal footage, we have provided different layouts for you. You're not able to change the rows and columns just because the way that horizontal works with vertical, it's a little bit different and quite a bit more complicated. So we have all these different layouts for you, and you can change the line thickness still and change the color. So we're gonna do the same thing with our synced footage. We'll bring in our music. Oops, I don't want to record. We'll bring in our music to the beginning. We're gonna trim the end of this because we don't need it. And then we'll bring in our synced sequences into this MOGRT. There we go. And we have a description of all of the different types of videos right here. So we have only 5 singers here. So we know that we can go all the way up to number 6, and that's the end of the 5 videos. So we can go from 6, that's gonna have everybody, and everything down from that is gonna have everyone. Again, if we want, we can make our markers or make our cuts throughout the song. Go to that section, change the layout. There we go. Change the layout to something else. Maybe we can switch around one of the singers to be somewhere else if we wanted to change the layout, and then go to the next section. So very easily you can get a fully fleshed out video within hours, really. When you do go to export these, just know that they are working with Adobe After Effects, and so the processing time or export time is going to be significantly longer. Where before it would take minutes or tens of minutes, now it's probably going to take an hour or multiple hours if you're using the large video template. There's not really much way around it, but the time that you save from having to edit all those before, and now the professionalism of it looking clean, is gonna counteract the amount of time that you have to render. But just keep that in mind. Don't render stuff last minute. It's gonna take longer. So last but not least, we do have this final MOGRT that is the large video squares template. This you can have up to 200 people on this. It's gonna take a little bit longer to load. Processing time is probably gonna be a little bit longer. So just be aware of that, that you probably want to make your markers beforehand, so that way when you're bringing stuff in, it's gonna be a little bit easier. It's just a larger motion graphics template because it's processing all of those sequences in After Effects, so it just takes a little bit longer. Now with this one, we do have similar capabilities to our first template. With this, we have our line thickness, which is the same. Rows and columns. With this, it goes up to 15 rows, 20 columns. Obviously, same thing as before. If you go too high, then you're gonna be missing some of those sequences, but we can make this adjustment. We can also do the same thing with the line background customization. We can change the thickness, we can change the color. So we do have the same capability of customization where we can change the color, we can change the opacity of the line, do the background replacement just like before, all of that stuff. And then when we go to drag in our footage, we can have, I made it a little bit easier, so if you have a group that's 1 to 25 people, you have it here. If it's more than that, you're doing 26 to 50. 26 to 50 and then 51 to 100. So that just makes it a little bit easier so that you're not having to deal with all of those. When you go to open it up, there's not 200 here, there's just 25, which is already pretty far. So yeah, you're able to do that as well, up to 200 people. So with these massive choirs that a lot of people are doing, you're gonna be able to drag that footage in relatively quickly, make your cuts, and then pretty much be done with the video. So I hope these are helpful. I hope they speed up your workflow and make it so that we can see a lot of amazing videos out there. If you create a video with this, please feel free to tag me at Parker J. Wright on Instagram or TikTok. I love to see how many people can use this to help their videos. And if you have any questions or issues, feel free to email me at contact@parkerjwright.com and I'll be happy to help you out. So feel free to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon, and I hope to see some of your amazing acapella or video square work soon. Thanks.